Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kegel Show. My name is Don Agent, and I will be your host for this episode. We've got a very unique show today. We've got some guests that are from different parts of the world. To my immediate left is Ruben Garagosian, who is a world-class coach, has coached in many continents across the globe. He also is a Kegel coach here for the Kegel Training Center. We've also got Sherry Tan and Jazrael Tan with us, who represent Team Singapore. And what we'd like to kind of talk about today is some of the differences, not only that we have in a competitive nature across the globe, but some of the different techniques and ways that people train in different countries as opposed to how we may do it here. So I want to thank all of y'all for coming out and joining us. We're going to give a shout out for October. You know, we're observing here at Kegel breast cancer awareness. That's why I'm wearing the pink shirt. At Kegel, all of our proceeds and donations will actually go to the American Cancer Society for cancer as a whole. But, you know, we want to thank everybody for supporting that cause going forward. You know, I spent a lot of time in Asia. You and I met, I believe, in Asia, Ruben, at one time. I mean, you were instrumental with some of the greats like Sid Allen and coaching teams like Malaysia and Indonesia and probably a whole bunch that I don't remember. You have also been instrumental in growing not only the youth development program with Singapore as a whole, but also being, you know, right up front with the national team, you know, members themselves. What actually, in your opinion, attracts a team like this at this elite level to not just train where they're at? Why do they come here, do you think?
Well, definitely been involved with Team Singapore for a number of years, since 2004, probably when I started.
Long time.
Yes, and Sid Allen started just a year earlier than I did. Singapore Bowling, through Jesse Hua, the president, they've had a great amount of involvement into bowling, and certainly in their federation, their country. And one of the things that she did, and in my opinion best, is the fact that Team Singapore had an identity. Till that time, it was always run by foreign coaches.
Correct.
And her vision was to have the local personnel in charge of their bowling world and their society. And I think it is great. And Sid is the one that kind of orchestrated that, you know,
coach
structure
from within
kind of
type
thing.
Of deal. Exactly.
And so they actually teamed up. Jesse called Sid and called us to say, actually that was during the SEA Games of 2005, I believe it was, right? That you were there. You had I think you had a bronze or a silver?
Bronze in team and silver in the Masters.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a pretty big event. When you're talking SEA Games and Asian Games, you know,
Yes, that was
Southeast
very
Asian
important.
Games, those platforms.
Yeah, they didn't have the greatest of outings at that time, and we had just been involved with the federation, and Jesse actually took charge of that and said, we need to do the right thing. So we started working with the coaching staff first, creating the coaches to run the youth development program that was going to come later. So Jesse's the one that had the vision to go, if we're going to do this right, we have to settle the structure first.
Fantastic.
And then start working with them. So she is instrumental in everything that's happened for Singapore bowling in the last 15 years or so.
I honestly remember. I remember when she won that election, and I thought she was going to be a very, very heavy hitter as far as being able to promote not only bowling but youth development.
Yes, I think it's been great. So what brings them here is the fact that they keep on growing and they keep on trying to get up to the highest of standards. And certainly if you're going to train, and the information that's in this building, as you know, through the people that have to do with lanes and mapping, and then certainly pattern development, and we have the oils and the machines, and there's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge here. So being involved with this training center is actually the right thing to do. You know, in Singapore, certainly the ladies team is, in my opinion, and
you said top three when
top
we were
three
talking about worldwide, globally.
There is no question. The men's team is coming along. They're getting a lot better. They have some reasons why they haven't been able to be as good as the ladies team as quickly as they have, but that's for another day topic. There are reasons for it, and it's not really a reason as in technical or tactical stuff like that. But it's just about the idiosyncrasy of the country, and actually the rules and laws about the military process and so
Absolutely.
on. So it has nothing to do with politics in that way. It's just about how the country is done for sports, which is okay. Now, in the case of the ladies, by far they're in the best top 3 in the world, and I think there is a second tier that comes after that third spot. I think that the U.S. with Korea and Singapore are those 3 teams.
Yeah, Korea's pretty tough as well, obviously.
Well, and I think they all have their place in the lane. The game has changed from the 80s and the 90s and so on. And in today's environment, being able to play different lines on the lane, it becomes very, very important. And the way I describe it normally is that, if you go closer to the gutter and you go into a straighter kind of motion down lane, Korea to me is the best team in the world.
They move up the boards.
Yes, and then if you're going to go away some, going left to right, and you're going to go somewhere around that second arrow area to the left and throwing it to the right of that, probably the U.S. is number 1. And as the pattern starts to develop and you go into more of the power players and you go into more shape and more
You take out Korea on that one, maybe.
yes, and certainly
men's wise for sure.
Yes, and in my opinion, Singapore is the number 1 team in the world when you have to go left.
When you gotta go
I
left.
think these girls, Sherry being a lefty and Jazzy being a righty, but generally speaking, when you have to go into more of the power game, there's no other team in the world like
Team Singapore.
Like Singapore.
All right, let's cut to
They're
you
very
ladies, actually, based on some of these things that Ruben just brought up. What is your experience like here? I mean, I know you have a pretty regimented training program back home, obviously. I mean, you're going to go practice. You're going to, be on the lanes as much as you possibly can. What are some of the benefits, do you think, when you come down here in this type of scenario that maybe help you advance your game?
I think we might not be throwing as many shots as we are here as compared to back home.
Okay.
But we spend a lot of times on the lanes, trying to figure out which is the best way to start on a fresh, because usually the fresh is what, if you have a good look on a fresh, you get loose, and as the game goes, you get even looser and get more confident, and to me that's the thing that I suffer the most, which is on the fresh. So as long as I can kind of figure out what's going on, it gives me more confidence, and of course you get looser and you start throwing better shots. But over here we are spending a lot of time bowling, not as many shots, but more time as a team together, figuring out the lanes, breaking down the lanes together, and it obviously helps with all the cool gadgets and all that, and the lanes that you can do the topography. I think it helps us a lot because we have a great facility back home.
Absolutely.
No doubt about that. But different bowling centers, they have different. It is just different. You can never replicate any lanes to whatever. So being here, it helps us to be as close as we can to whatever's gonna be thrown at us at the World Championships, and I think that is very, very good preparation leading up to that. And with all the different help from Ruben, from Dal, from Randy, they've been in this industry so long, they've had so much experience, it's just going to help us only.
Yeah, I'm a little biased because I know we've got some of the greatest coaches in the world under one roof, and I'm glad, we always look forward to seeing all of y'all down here. I think that the reason I ask some of these questions is actually at lunch a couple of days ago, I was talking to somebody that was not in bowling, and they were asking me a little bit about what I do, and I said, well, I've been to 41 countries, and they said, we bowl outside of the United States. I go, you have no idea how big bowling is, outside of the U.S. I'm going to change gears a little bit, actually talk about U.S. What do you think fundamentally is the biggest difference as far as competition when you fly here to compete against people in the States versus if you are flying to maybe Europe or you're flying to another part of Asia and competing with people that you see all the time? Is there more pressure? Is there less pressure? Is it just a different environment?
I would say
We're looking at you, dear.
I would say mostly the environment is different and the format is different because different zones have different format of competition.
Correct.
And when we were much younger, we competed mostly in the Asia zone, and the format is way different from what
Absolutely.
what we do Bolivia.
Now, how did you? I mean, you both are champions here, correct? I mean, like actual PWBA. I mean, you know, champions. What was that feeling like? I mean, you both won all over the world, but was that a different type of feeling for you? I mean, what did it make you feel like you'd conquered another continent, or was it just another tournament?
It was pretty surreal when I first won the PWBA title because, you know, since we started bowling, the tour was already gone. There was no chance of us thinking about it. And like, you know, when we started bowling, as we started bowling, I bowled in college over here in Wichita State, but you know, as we started bowling internationally, we never once thought, hey, you know, the tour might come back someday, you know, we might have a chance to actually own a PWBA title. But, you know, when it came back, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. And like, we are very thankful for the opportunity to be here. You know, our sponsors back home, our government, the Sports Institute, our bowling federation, you know, because of them, we are able to bowl on tour for the last 3 years or so. Obviously, we would be hoping to bowl the entire tour, but
Sure, absolutely.
that's kind of a little bit impossible. So.
And you know, from somebody like myself, I mean, there was a period when I was doing lanes for a lot of us here where we were doing lanes for the men's tour, the seniors, and the women's. The women's when it was LPDT and then went to PWBA. And I thought one of the biggest disasters in our industry, in my personal opinion, was that they took the women's tour away. I mean, you know, not anything against the men or the seniors, but, you know, when I was out in that environment, you guys had a lot of fans. I mean, the women drew a lot of fans. You were very social. You talked to people that came to watch you bowl. And it was just a very good draw. So I'm glad that we've obviously got some tournaments that have come back, and I'm glad you can come over here and participate against some of our best as well. What is your favorite country besides your own that you've ever visited and competed in? I guess, you know, culturally.
So bowling-wise, you're asking?
Yeah, bowling-wise, not vacation, bowling-wise. You know, where you maybe made some new friends, learned some new culture. I mean, if you had to pick, would it be in Asia? Would it be in Europe? Would it be here? Would it be in South America, Canada?
I think for me, I prefer Korea and Japan.
Excellent. Two of my very favorite countries for food, by the way. But bowling-wise, you enjoyed bowling over there as well.
Yeah, their fan base there is really great.
Yes.
And not to say that it's bad.
No. But so the audience does understand. I mean, for those of you that are living in the United States, I mean, the fan base that appears at an international event dwarfs essentially what we see at the professional level and that type of thing. I mean, I've done 50 or 60 of them internationally. I mean, we've had people that have stopped people from coming in the door because there are so many people in the building. So, you know, and that's part of kind of this conversation, kind of let the audience know a little bit that there's maybe a lot more people that come to kind of watch that as well.
Yeah, you know, you asked earlier about how different it is to bowl in one place and another one. Of course, that's for them to answer. But I think that if I can, you know, intrude in it, I would think that it changed quite a bit from the first time you come in to bowl the tournament or the PWBA event, and then in the last couple of years or so, because now bowling has become such a universal sport that it used to be like people from here didn't bowl over there, and for people, you know, the pros didn't go to Europe and Asia, and people from Asia didn't come to here because there was nothing to come here for, as a lady, you know, goes.
Absolutely.
But now it just becomes like a universal sport, and then you have, you know, people like the Darias and the Verides and Dianas and the girl from Singapore in Malaysia, Indonesia. Some Japanese girls are coming to some of the PWBA events as well. So now it's become we're all friends. You see people
more-
that
it's
you're
more
so
open
used
and
to
inviting.
seeing everybody that it doesn't become a other than the fact that they have to travel a bunch of hours to get here.
Correct.
Once they get here, it just feels like bowling because is that what you see all the time. They go to Europe quite a bit.
Mhm.
They go to the U.S. and the American zone quite a bit. So I would think that it's quite different
It's
now
different.
that
It's
it used to
different
be.
now than definitely 10 or 15 years
Well,
ago.
even 3 years ago when
Correct.
they just came up
Because
on
the
the
tour
first
was
time
still
on the
getting
tour.
back up.
Yeah, I think
exactly.
you guys actually bowled on the first year of the ladies tour coming back,
Yeah.
and you were very successful doing that as well. But what I'm saying is from those days to today, I'm sure is quite different. Now you show up in a tournament and he says, hi Jesse and
Yeah,
how's
people-
Sherry and whatever, and then everybody
know you.
knows you and so the bowlers and you know them as well. So I would think it's different, right?
So now your favorite country
I do like
or experience?
Korea
You like Korea?
a lot.
I spent
like
a lot of time in
bowling
Korea.
and eating wise.
I
Mostly
probably
eating,
spent a year
but-
of my life on this earth in different parts of Korea doing
But you have to
tournaments.
understand, if you're Singaporean, food is
I'm with
different.
you. I'm with
Okay.
you. As an American, we like food.
No, I'm
I will
saying
tell you, I
that-
cannot do the kimchi though.
Oh,
Can't
I
do
get
it.
it.
Just too spicy for me, unfortunately. But all right, how about this? If you had to pick, this is going to be two different questions, but which female bowler, okay, does not have to be on the tour, maybe somebody you've seen, you've competed against, in the United States, would you pick out that stands out for you, like, wow, this person is top of their game? It can even be somebody that was maybe in college you bowled against or youth. You got one Sherry that you can pick out at all, or
Liz.
Liz Johnson? That's funny you say that, Liz. If you're listening, I was just
Hi,
looking at our
Liz.
I was just looking at our picture from the last trade show, and I saw that today, and she is definitely one of my favorites. I mean, she can play a lot of different angles, a lot of different conditions. She's got a fantastic head on her shoulders. That is a great pick. How about you?
Look up to a lot of them, but
I know, but you gotta pick one.
Had the opportunity to be like rivals, and after that becoming friends, and like I look up to her a lot because she gives a lot of good advices to Shannon O'Keefe.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, she's so intense in a good way, of course. She's really hard on herself too, but I think there's something about her that, how her mind works, how she sees things on the lanes, on and off the lanes. It's just very nice to talk to her, and she gave me a lot of advices then and now still, even though we are like competing against each other.
Sure.
She would still be very open to giving me and of course everybody else advices, and what she has done to the Mackenzie bowling program.
I was
with
just going to say,
Ryan,
her and her husband are both
it's
tag team in that
very
coaching program. So,
impressive.
yeah.
So
I don't know her very well. We probably know each other if we've seen each other, but never heard any bad things about her. Just always just a really top-notch player, had a great attitude, and the people enjoyed her. And I've got a very dear friend of mine that named Thomas Watson that bowls for McHenry at the moment. And I always tell him, I say, you're in fantastic hands. Let's flip it. Let's go international bowler, and you can't pick yourself. Let me up and coming female, or a current one. It can be somebody that's not even bowling anymore that was, fantastic back in the day.
International.
That's a tough one because you bowled with a bunch of different people, obviously,
Yeah.
and
too many.
and you've had the opportunity to bowl some great people.
All right.
You got it.
Choi Jina.
Excellent.
Yeah, she was the
Excellent
Korean lefty.
choice.
So,
Excellent choice, Jezreel.
I have no idea. Too many still.
I'm
Sherry.
international, I'm not yourself.
Sherry.
Sure, you pick Sherry. All right, that
No,
works.
I mean like there are too many. Like,
If you
just
don't, you come
one.
up with a black eye tomorrow. You know what happened.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is always Shaolin. I mean, she's
Yeah, I was
a
just
phenomenal
gonna
player,
say
phenomenal
that.
player back in the day, Chopo Lai and a bunch of people back in that time. What does it feel like? You've won medals on a world level, representing your country. What does it feel like to get on that stage and for you personally to say, wow, I've won something for my country? What type of experience was that for both of y'all?
would say it's a really great experience, and we are both very honored to be on the team because we know that we can't take that for granted, even though we are very small and we have very little people in Singapore. But the talent keeps coming up, and you cannot be complacent, and you have to just work on your game and make sure that you keep improving so that you will stay ahead of the field. Yeah.
Well, actually, you said something about even though we're very small, doesn't that make it even more special? Because there aren't too many sports where, say, Team Singapore is the very, very best in
On
the
top
world.
of the game, exactly.
You know, when you
Good
go
point,
about
Ron.
Olympics, or you talk about, you know,
We have
Asian
a gold
Games.
medal. Olympic gold medal from
What?
Joseph Schooling.
Yes.
There you go.
So what I'm saying is the fact that you are a smaller country and it's not really a powerhouse in most of the sports at the highest levels. The fact that the bowling program and the ladies bowling program, it is one of the very, very,
Oh,
very,
it's one of the
very
top
best in
tier.
the world.
Absolutely.
That would make it even more special because you're one of those, you know, athletes that people kind of know. In the case of Remy, for example, you know, and
They
Singapore,
shut down Singapore when he won 3 golds at Asian Games or World Men.
2002.
Yeah, because I did the
2002.
lanes there. I was there. And I remember
Yes.
him telling me that
Yes.
story. That's a perfect
So the fact that, you know, and then he won the world championships, and so everybody in Singapore knows what Remy is, and the fact that you girls are at that same level, I think is just remarkable.
Yeah, but I think being small actually also helps because
Yes.
Oh,
we
definitely.
train together all the time, and we heard from like Team USA that they only come together
Once a year.
Yeah,
I mean, essentially. I
so
mean,
we know each other games really well because we train with each other day in day out.
And that's something for the audience that may not be aware. I mean, and it's not necessarily a Team USA issue. It's just a simple fact that, you know, when you bowl for a country outside the United States, a lot of times, I mean, you're getting paid. That is what you do for a living. Therefore, you're training constantly. That is your job. Where, you know, Team USA, I mean, just like John Janowitz, who, you know, works for us here, he still has to have a full-time job. All these people do. Therefore, they are restricted to limited training sessions all the time, which is going to bring me to this question. How many, on a hard week, how many hours do you think you train a week? Now, I'm going to go training as not just bowling. We're going to go weight training, you know, psychological, because that's the other thing. I know you guys have an entire, you know, genre of different ways that you all train in the program.
Just bowling.
No, just
No,
everything.
All of it. Yeah, 8-hour days you have at times?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Absolutely. So you think you're probably at least 20, 30 hours a week between practice on your own as well?
Definitely.
I mean, that's almost a full-time job in a lot of cases, so that is unbelievable. If you had to guess, Sherry, how many countries you think you've competed in?
More than 20.
Outstanding. Jezreel?
I think we're really fortunate because
Maybe
of
about
the
that.
government
About the same?
support.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we are lucky in that sense because we get to travel a lot more and to compete in different regions of the world.
I was very lucky working for Kegel because I got to travel all over the world doing lanes for people just like yourself, so it was very fortunate. All right, last question before we wrap this up. What are your dreams going forward? Do you want to bowl for a living going forward? Do you have another career choice on the side that maybe our listeners don't know about?
Going forward,
Right.
I would hope to see bowling in the Olympics.
Absolutely. Where you would be competing, I'm assuming.
I'm crossing my fingers.
Fantastic. So are all of us. There are a lot of
Your
people in
left
the
hand.
world.
Your left hand.
But it's taped out.
Jezreel, how about yourself?
For as long as my body is healthy and I'm able to throw a ball down the lane, I hope to still be bowling if I can still maintain a level that I think I can compete with. And of course, the Olympics is a dream. It's a very far dream.
Yeah.
But you know, hopefully someday we are able to travel to more countries to bowl. There's still a lot of countries that we haven't been able to bowl at. And you know, of course, youth development is something that it's coming up a lot.
It's
in
huge.
many
It's huge
different
in
countries.
Singapore and across
Yeah,
the
so
globe. Yeah.
I mean, of course, that puts our place on the team at risk, but you know, that's just gonna make us wanna train even harder and earn our spot on the team for many more years, hopefully.
That is fantastic. When are you ladies, when are all of you guys heading back? Are you flying back tomorrow? Or?
Tomorrow, early in the morning.
All right, for our audience, if you can calculate it in your head, I can in mine on my last trip, but from the time you leave your hotel in real hours till the time you open the door at your house or your flat, what do you got, 30?
6 p.m. we leave the hotel. We reach bed at midnight.
So we're talking
30 hours.
30 hours. That's a lot to
30.
come bowling.
30 hours. Yeah.
Ladies, I cannot thank you enough
Thank
for
you.
coming on the
Alright,
show.
Thank you.
Ruben, thanks a bunch.
Donnie, thanks for having us here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ruben Garagosian, Team Singapore, two of some of the best female players on the globe. That's a wrap. We want to just let everybody know, keep those wrenches turning, and you all have a wonderful day.